Hi everyone, I'm Martina Galli from POLI.design, and today I will be moderating the presentation of the Specializing Master in Design for Food. Please feel free to use the chat for any questions you have, which we will address in the second part of the session. And now let me introduce the speaker for today, Stefano Maffei. Thank you very much, and I leave you the floor.
Thank you very much for this invitation, and thank you very much for all those that are listening to my presentation. I will try to explain the nature and the logic of our program, Master in Design for Food. Here it is the overview of also my collaborator. So Francesco Bombardier is my co-director, Barbara Parin is the didactic coordinator, and Giovanna Gigante is the didactic assistant. We together will manage your adventure here in Milan attending the Master. So let's start with the description of how we decided to offer the program. I think that Design for Food now is a kind of approach that helps us in understanding before and then intervening in food design system. Also because there is a huge challenge, I think, going on. That is this about the climate challenge, the idea of transformation of food system in a lot of different countries, the impact of food in healthcare, and a lot of other topics that in our opinion are relevant for the development of our civilization. And I think the Specializing Master offer a kind of answer that put together the design approach, because obviously we belong as DNA to Politecnico di Milano. It is a well-renowned technical school in which design is one of the lead topic that we address, and on the other side, mixing together the humanistic approach, the science approach, the engineering approach, so having what we call a systemic vision. And if we start from this statement and we move on into what we think are our goals, we immediately see that we are here to foster new approach to innovation in food system. And this means also developing some sustainable approaches and solutions that help us in terms of product, services, processes to address these challenges. So it means acquiring some analytic skill that allow us to understand the complex logic that is behind the food system. I think understanding also the way in which we could act on this challenge, both in terms of design approach and technology that could help us in the real material transformation. All these things are linked with a strategic approach that allow us to move from the abstract macro scale to the micro scale, so developing specific product service system solution that could address some of these challenges. And this means also that we have to engage people through this communication skill that we also offer in our program that help us in, at the end, having the competence to manage the overall approach to this food system. If we move into a more defined way of addressing the topic of the competence that we'll develop participating to the Master, I would say that before everything, there is a kind of theoretical academic approach that allow you to understand the basics, the building blocks of the food culture. Then moving from this theoretical approach, we will understand how these skills allow you to become critical in terms of a positive action that could lead to a transformation, and then to move it into a real scenario, a context, a territorial place in which you could apply both in terms of solution, but also in terms of analysis, your skills. Managing all these things is a quite relevant task that will be addressed because the program is a kind of horizontal way to understand food system. And this means that if we understand complexity, we could also design complex solutions that could address the challenges that we face. This is not just the timeline, but also an overview of how we design the program, because as you see, and I was anticipating before, we start from a more theoretical approach that is more focused on lecture and exercise that allow you to have the basic knowledge, also aligning the basic knowledge, because the people attended the Master came from different backgrounds, from business administration, design, engineering, food technologies. So this means also aligning the students into a common culture. Then because we are a specializing master, we want to enable this knowledge to be actioned in a real pragmatic way. So the second part of the workshop is more dedicated to learn tools and practices, approaches that allow you to transfer the knowledge, the theoretical knowledge, into a pragmatic scheme. And then at the end, we go through a process in which, through this exercise of an hands-on experiment, we could move into the final phase of the workshop, in which we test really our competencies, in which we work with partners into real case development. So it's a real project, it's a real experience of developing that will allow you to simulate, I think, what could be your professional experience after the program. And then after that, we have like the study tour, and I will introduce them in a while, that will complete your training in class. And after that, you will have the final internship and then the final master exam. Here, a very, very quick overview of the area of study that we developed for you. So starting from the food science and technology area, in which we deal mainly with food technology, food safety, the principle of sensorial analysis. So a way in which we really deal with a specialistic content that allow you to move from a bottom-up perspective to a more scientific and technological one. Then there is a humanities and food study area that is quite relevant, because obviously food is not just technology, materiality, it's about heritage, culture, tradition, it's about ecology, it's about understanding the logic of food, it's about how we develop new ideas in this traditional field of human experience. So it's also linked to our humanistic approach. Then obviously there is the design area that is one of our pillars. Obviously I teach here also design, so I'm really involved in the idea that design could really represent the main enabler of innovation processes. So there is a huge list that you could read, that is the specializing sector of design applied to food system, food product, food service, food packaging, food branding, food experience, systemic design. So a lot of things that produce a kind of overall development of what we could do as designer or with a projectual approach. Then obviously always in the design area, we have the workshop that I mentioned before as a way of applying with an hands-on experience the competence that you learn in the entire program. Then the food engineering area, in which we deal with food business modeling, the idea of also understanding the logistic and the systems that are behind the retail chains, etc. And finally, as I was saying before, there is this field experience that are the study trips. So there are this mission in Italian region. One will be in Piedmont, probably taken as a base Pollenzo, that is one of our partners in this program. It will last less or more 10 days. It will be an exploration of the entrepreneurial background of Italian food system. You will visit enterprises, doing experiences, sensory analysis. You will mix this with a package of topic that will be taught directly in Pollenzo. Moreover, we will have a second study trip in Emilia-Romagna, again another important Italian region from the point of view of food system. It is the place in which a lot of iconic Italian products are made. So just you will visit the back office of the production of Parmigiano Reggiano, one of the most famous Italian cheese in the world. Then you will see and you will taste aceto balsamico tradizionale, that is another iconic product of our Italian regional production, and I think internationally renowned product that it will be like a fantastic experience in my opinion. Then we have also another part that is the support that POLI.design will develop, that is the career building process that will help you in developing and understanding better which could be your opportunity coming from your background, and this will mean also support for developing your internship, both in an enterprise or an institution, developing and putting into action your skill, the skill you learn through the program itself. Here there is a more detailed description of the study trips. I will skip this because I want to show you some images coming from the experience of the students of the last cycle of the program. Here is the Pollenzo perspective, in which you will be engaged in a sort of, on one side, training, so through lesson and exercise, and on the other side, visiting a lot of places in Piedmont. Here some experience, for example, of the course of agroecology, in which the students were involved in first going around and searching and foraging is the correct word for herbs and edible flowers and things, and then going to this famous restaurant in Castello Grinzane Cavour together with the chef and preparing and cooking these herbs that they forage, and so having also taste experience. So going from the understanding of how ecology, natural ecology works, the idea of how we deal with it when we start imagining to explore biodiversity, and on the other side, going to the gastronomic perspective of the preparation and the design of the whole experience of tasting. This is another image taken from the same location in Pollenzo. In the it experienced the sensory analysis and the sensory experience in their food lab. So there is also a mix not just of visiting, but of really hands-on experience. So as you could understand, the entire logic of the program is about giving you this horizontal perspective that goes through from the macro scale to the real micro scale, with a detail of what food is that came from your personal experience on one side, but mixes, again, culture and also technology and the way in which we enable the full understanding of this complex challenge that is food. Again, images taken from the experiment of sensorial analysis. Just for your information, this is the way in which usually all the products are tested when they are developed by food producer. This is about their sensorial characteristics, some food safety considerations that are connected to this, and some experiments in terms of their formulation, so the variables that could intervene in the taste experience. Again, some images taken from the study trip in Emilia-Romagna. It's the visiting some wineries in the hills near Modena in Emilia-Romagna. It's the place in which it's produced one of these famous and iconic Italian wine, that is Lambrusco. Sorry, I'm coming from Emilia-Romagna, I'm coming from Modena, so it's kind of very, very relevant experience for me, because I think it's one of the very iconic experience in Italian tasting. And again, visiting food producer, in this case is, let's say, they produce strawberries, is understanding the logic of agricultural production, or just as I was saying before, seeing how Parmigiano Reggiano is made, also understanding the deep link between territory and the way in which we produce food. Finally, this the visit to Acetaia San Giacomo is one of the most experimental, advanced balsamic vinegar producer in entire Italy, visiting the Acetaia and tasting and understanding the value of this incredible product, incredible Italian product that is in the menu. It is used by the most renowned chef in the world. These are some of our partners, as you see, very important Italian brands that goes from pasta to cafe to Parmigiano Reggiano. It involves also institutions like Milan Food Policy, so the municipality office that deal with food policies. It is one of the most renowned cases, I think, in international research scenario about public policy and food. And just to end the final sum up, in which we try to outline what could be your possibility after that you attended the program, so the kind of expertise or professional outcome that you could really develop through the attendance. So the first for sure is a role that is the research and development food project manager. That means that through this systemic approach and understanding from the analytical part to the synthetic part, so the development of real action, you could really work as a manager in a lot of enterprises that are dealing with from food production to retail, so that are involved in these food chains. Same for food service and product designers, a more specific role that is really dealing with the product service system development, is really more close to our dominant culture here, that is design. And this means that it could be a very interesting enabling role in larger team, especially in large corporation. Then there is food brand manager, because there is also this part dedicated to food communication. So it means, again, that the food brand manager could help in the public engagement, advertising, communication of this product service system. Finally, the more, let's say, open roles, that is one dedicated to food startup. A lot of our students have already in place their ideas about how to develop their own enterprise, so this could be a fantastic help. And finally, a food innovation specialist that could work across private and public sector, being a consultant, also developing skills that allow him to be, again, a pivotal role into larger groups or larger innovation processes.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll take the floor again to provide more details about the application process for the next edition of Design for Food, which will begin in October 2025. On the Specializing Master webpage on the POLI.design website, you will find the full listed materials for the selection phase. By clicking on the Apply button, you will be able to create your personal account and to upload the necessary files. The application will then be completed on the Politecnico di Milano website by uploading the documents related to your academic qualifications. If you need any assistance during this phase, you can scan the QR code and book a call. There are two main steps to follow. The first one is the selection step, which must be completed no later than 60 days before the course starting date. And the second one is the enrollment step, to be completed within 45 days. Please note that the applications are processed in chronological order and spots are limited, and so don't wait for the last minute. Additionally, by uploading your documents, you will already be eligible to attend the next recruiting phase that will be on May 29. You can find also the course fee listed on this slide, along with our promotional policy designed specifically for this program, an initiative to support the design potential of those who choose Poly.design. In particular, I'd like to highlight the Back to School promo dedicated to Politecnico di Milano students. And now let's move on to the Q&A session. And let's start by reading some of the questions that we received. So the first one is, do you have any data about the background of your students, like in percentage, how many, no, I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong one. Are there specific skills that candidates should have to apply? So background or...
Yes, not specific, as was mentioned before. We accept candidates that are coming from different backgrounds, also because of this systemic nature of our program. So just to say, I made the example because these let's say numbers or experience came from our recent enrollment process. And I think that there are two dominant areas. One is coming from, let's say, business side, marketing side, and the second is design side in all these specializations, so product, service, strategy, etc. A smallest part is coming from food technology, food safety area. So I would say there is not just usually a super technical background. I would say, let's say, between technical and something that is more projectual, design-oriented kind of profile.
Okay, thank you. And then, do candidates having a background that is not design have to learn some softwares to take part in the master?
Usually we help through this, because we have this organization of the work that is made in group, so there is no a specific targeting for that, also because we are not really designing in a proper sense product, we are doing a kind of conceptual product design, so you don't need to be specialized in that, and you could learn a part of these contents through the courses that we offer in the master.
Perfect. So, do you already have a schedule of the next year visit and tour?
Not really defined, but we are already establishing the scheme of the next study trip. So we are discussing both with Pollenzo, and we are gonna organizing by ourselves the Emilia-Romagna one. But I think that they will be available in I would say some weeks. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Then another one is, which is the level of involvement of companies in the class activities?
I think that we have two different levels. One is through case studies that are presented by our teacher. Then we have a novel entrepreneurship course that is dedicated to inviting directly entrepreneur, presenting their enterprise, their cases that usually is connected to a specific kind of innovation. And then we have the workshop in which we receive a real brief coming from the enterprises. So it's a strict connection between them and us. They participate to the launch of the challenge, to the reviews during the process. At the end, we have a presentation with them. And some of this work also continued in a sort of consultancy after the closure of the master.
Perfect. And then for the application, I see a space for portfolio. Can you expatiate on the things you are looking for?
Obviously, it depends from your background. This is usually very clear when you come from a design or engineering background, because it's just like your project or your realization, so I don't know, prototypes or whatever. It's different when you are coming from a food technology background, in which you sometimes work, I don't know, in lab proofs, for example. So it means that you have to give us some more details about your experience that is dedicated to your area, disciplinary area of study. So it's not just a design thing. It could be also developed if you are dealing with food technologies or gastronomic sciences. It's what you did in terms of experiences.
Okay. Then is it more design or in food industry? I don't know. I can't
Don't really
okay,
understand,
don't
but
really
I would
understand.
say that what we teach as design is more a design approach. So it's about not simply analyzing or proposing generic ideas or solution, but adapt these ideas to a specific context and develop something that could be progressively action, so real, so developed.
Perfect. And then another one. What types of companies do students typically find jobs in? Are food brands, design consultancies, agri-food tech startups, or NGOs?
I would say at least the first three. We have no notice, because obviously also our students change their place very quickly. So they start, for example, as a partner in startups and then move to a larger company, or they act as consultant independently. But I would say no NGO till now, at least. And there are some cases of people that move from the master to university teaching, just to mention one case. That is the closer example that I remember.
And then another one is, are you able to share the reading list for the course if available?
Obviously,
some suggestions.
obviously, I think that because we renew every year our, let's say, team of professors, so we have professor coming from academia, professor coming from professional background. So we usually share these things, so the syllabus, before the start of the course. We could obviously provide a very short reading list that is a kind of advice for you to start, let's say, developing your curiosity and interest about the program, but the full reading list will be given by the same professor, because we do this anticipation of the scheduling of the syllabus of the lesson on a monthly basis, so you could receive it all through the program.
Perfect, thank you very much. And this was the last one. And
Thank
so
you.
I would really like to thank Professor Maffei for the presentation, and thank you all, and stay tuned for the next presentation.
Thank you very much.